For the lovely 5D collective, or Christ Consciousness Collective, we have some full moon messages, and that is for all of those who are 5D mystics and people. So you have self awareness, accountability, and regulation skills. No shame button, but instead an inner child adult. So that completion of noticing how to get yourself to enlightenment again and again and again through that infinite unknown. So darkness, it's a balance between that which is your story to tell, mine to share if you ever want to. So here's where for some of us we've maintained that open-heartedness thanks to having a child-centric environment, and so we don't feel changed. Those who do feel changed, they have gotten out of the unhealed trauma, shame, blame, fault, and revenge cycles, and so they have moved into what are functional adults, expanding peace of consciousness. And again, we spot the BS of narrow states of consciousness, talk, words, and voices. We have an episode that will be discussing a little bit of perspectives and stories. I'm not sure of what order I will, have them in, but you can tune in later. So here's what happens when you get to choose yourself on this lovely day. Choosing yourself means that you are clear on how to be true to who you are, and that is through your love life, through your career, through your all of it. And as a functional adult, it's a step by step. Every 24 hours, you are appreciative of the time you have. That's because you do mindfulness, mindsight, and mindset practices. So emotions don't weigh you down, nor do thoughts. You are ready to be in this lovely self-help, spiritual and secular community, and to put into practices when you don't feel that emotions are laundry. That's also because, again, you've closed the shame cycle. So you have learned to be the safe haven of you and secure base. You're an inner child adult is also like how I like to call it. And that's because you know how to regulate your nervous system. If you're not completely established in it, you're still working with a good therapist, and then you continue with other practices and with healthy self-worth people, because the therapist is one stop to learn to see yourself, to soothe yourself, to feel safe to be yourself and securely attached to. Okay, so that's when you're going to be true to who you are, and you're not going to be manipulable by those narrow states of consciousness. And the people who are leading with a 16-year-old is what I call, because the fight response, we all have that charge state, and you'll notice they talk about, rigidly speaking, vengeance. Humans are not good or kind. They don't like that we are integrating different lifestyles, so polyamory, monoamory, that sciences and spirituality are coming together. They don't like technology and advancement. They don't appreciate the era we're in. They actively would like to return home to the ancient times, and they feel very uncomfortable in what is today. So we leave 3D, 4D alone because, again, they will be in a narrow state of consciousness. Cognitive dissonance is not comfortable, and they have their manipulators, because the manipulators are actively adaptive child people like them. They're Peter Pans who are leading lost boys, lost girls to what an adaptive child envisions. They're perfectionist and rigid because it's a child's idea of what a grown-up should one look like, what a parent should have done, could have done, and what they would want to see out there. And anyone who doesn't like what they want to see out there, they just use their ancient textbooks to keep on moving forward, like when they're saying Luciferian era with the New Age mystics. Or the other one's bad psychologists. So there's people who actively talk about different mystics from them as Luciferians or bad psychologists. So it's called, again, a teenager who doesn't like differences. And that's not a teenager, though, because they're a grown-up. So the teenage attitude of black and white thinking and, in fact, split thinking leads them to say, it's all good this and that's all bad. And, So anyways, they don't own their mind, heart, or body. We do. That's why we connect to eternity within, and we let ourselves be held by love. So secure attachment leads you to have that restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, and regulating life. And as a securely attached person, like Stephen Porges shares, the polyvagal theory doctor, we are in the state of love, oxytocin gene hormone, and we get to be with others. In fact, that's also why you don't do it alone. You're not alone on a true spirituality journey, on a spirituality awakening journey, on a twin flame journey. You don't lose people. The 4D collective, they lose people because, again, they have this thing of I'm fighting. The 16-year-old fights. The 5D is not a 16-year-old version of themselves. In fact, we know that your ways of thinking and feeling, your likes and dislikes, your philosophies and ideologies all melt down when you fall in love. So that's what an integrated brain is, and that's what the 5D collective is. So we have, and on this full moon, those of you who are tuning in, you know you feel first. That's why faith is a feeling. It's not the words. It's not scripture. It's, you know that there's more to this life. For those of you who are of faith, doesn't matter what your background is. Mine is from Christian Catholicism. Yours can be from wherever, but it's here. And it's an open, loving heart with bliss in it. There's nothing else. It's an open, blissful, it's that river that is already connected to the ocean. It's a feeling. It has no words. And it is called bliss, delight. It's here, right here. And it's consistently on for the people who have the capacity to be their whole self. An inner child adult for that reason, Krishna Lila. You have fun in your social engagement system with others. Okay? And so that moment of truth is where you think after. So like with me, words come with feelings together, but what comes first is the feeling. And the good trauma therapists teach us this. The only human beings who don't like this are the same ones who are in a shame cycle. Okay? So leave the narrow states of consciousness to their own rigidity, because it's what comes up, and their non-bilateral integration is not something that you can help them make sense of. They need to become self-aware, accountable, and regulating, and say, oh, I'm projecting, I'm feeling pissy in my pants, which an adaptive child and maladaptive child, those who are healing, they will notice, and then there's a conversation. Those who are not, they continue low self-esteem, indirect communication, passive-aggressive, they don't know healthy boundaries are conversations, and then also accepting differences and not you changing you and I. No, nobody changes. This part about change, the people who want to consider expanding consciousness change, but it's a consistent expansion. That's why the self is a verb, which mine is. I don't feel changed. I'm more of Maria. So once you have harnessed all of you, you feel more of you, not less, and you don't change. People who got out of the shame button that now are here, and you own the mind, heart, body. And so on this lovely full moon, again, you get to be that inner child adult of you, get to build those functional adult relationships. We heal trauma one person at a time, one relationship at a time, because healthy self-worth people have conversations, and this is all inclusiveness. We don't talk to polyamory, monoamory, sciences, spirituality, mystics, not mystics. We don't talk to people in a way that they need to be what we are. We actively enjoy political, religious, all of it, different types of information, conversations. And when we have narrow states of consciousness, we know how to handle it. Because Pachas is what the inner child adult is. With Krishna Lila also, though, you're in your present, in your mindfully aware brain. And that's because you're present, curious, open, accepting, loving. Thanks, Dr. Dan Siegel, for these. And so your body's in a state of compassion. You are in your ventral vagal state, and you're presently engaging with an integrated brain, and then you get to tune to their nervous system and resonate and trust. And so resonance and trust comes as you're enjoying. If there's an adaptive child narrow state of consciousness, you're going to recalibrate because you're going to notice there's some edges. If there's splinters or ruptures, you as a Pacha will be able to continue to grow those relationships. You don't cut people out, and that's also why we don't chase our twin flames or run after each other. It's an active engagement. You want in? No? Okay. See you later, alligator. That's it. You will accept, and oh, yes, emotions. There's no dark night of the soul, ego death in this excruciatingly painful way for the 5D body type, because you know how to love yourself first. So a person who wants in is great. They don't want in. Well, it's sad. You're going to get over it. Why? Because you don't want them to be where they don't want to be. See, love is that. I have compersion, it's called, if I remember the word correctly, because sometimes my brain gets faulty, but if I remember compersion for polyamory and monoamory, it doesn't matter. I want you to be happy. It's called equanimity. It's called maturity. So this is where we are at. We feel first, and we feel always love, because that is actively what a 5D state of consciousness is. I learned it from Jesus, and then from me consistently choosing it. And I learned it also, though, because I had a child-centric environment where I was lovingly accepted. I didn't work for love, and I got to express all my emotions. So I was not shamed into rigidity and or chaos, meaning that I did not have this way of being boxed up into anything. I was allowed to go with the flow of my heart, deal with uncertainty, unexpected, and unwanted, our main modules, while I pursued and continue inner growth, the mindset with mindsight and mindfulness without even knowing those words yet. Now I do. And that's why, as a mentor and content creator, you get to be supported on your journey, because the part of us being creatures of habit, that's for sure. And when it comes to people who are doing something for their inner and outer well-being, they're going to want not only a community of like-minded and expanding piece of consciousness, because it gets interesting with smart people, but also because those practices are daily. So while we have a Zen master who talks about laundry, he doesn't put into practice daily. Let me not talk about emotions as laundry, because that's how you create resiliency. So it's you attuning to your nervous system, and it's you the seeing, the soothing, the securing, safe securing, and then saying, hey. And so you share with other expanding piece of consciousness, which is why you will have moments, of course, of deep emotion, but they don't weigh anyone down. Those who are weighed down, they talk about emotions like laundry. They talk about all the scars that they have. They're in an active, modulated, embodied self. It's not integrate. You're not making sense of what the soul, self, narrative, relational, and core self have experienced in a way of soothing yourself and saying it's going to be okay. And this is why you create resiliency when you go through emotional stuff and keep getting back online with your prefrontal cortex. Rumination is what people do. Oh, Tara Brock has a great video for any one of you. It's for free on YouTube that wants out of rumination. If you need that, it's really effective to get that prefrontal cortex down, locked in and loaded. So you get to consistently do that. And every time you do it, it gets to become lighter and lighter and lighter. And that's why you can consistently vibe in enlightenment, that vibration. When you stub your toe, for a second, you're going to have a stubbed toe. You got a tummy ache, you got fear. This is where also you do continue to go through your own expansion. So we all have, I can't tell it to you. You're going to know yours, or we're going to have a layout if you want one-to-one mentorship, because we can write things down. I know mine. So mine is consistently tied to I want to live as long as possible in a healthy state. Physical. Okay, so physical, sense of safety, sense of health, and that's because my loved ones, they are loved ones, and that hurt. So you choose people who, again, support you to feel light. You're not around people that weigh you down. And that's not because we cut people out of our life. No, we accept each other for who we are, and we pick our herd as we grow up. So these are things that we add to our oversoul. We're going to get to another topic. I might change the topic. I was thinking of doing one, but I might decide to do something. Or maybe I'll do two. Anyways, in the meantime, this is for the lovely full moon. I hope you're enjoying it, and we will be back with more. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you know anybody who is in favor of doing spiritual and secular self-help, but with a 5D mystic, so spirituality is always going to be a part of it, let them join us. And we'll be back again with more.